All right. So today, I'm happy to see you here. Today, we are going to be talking about essential oils, acupoints, and stress. So I'm just actually going to ask everyone to just mute themselves if they haven't already as you're coming in. Perfect. Okay. So I'm excited to see a few familiar faces here. This is great. This is, for those of you that know me, this is my new love. And I've been practicing and using the combination of oils and acupoints for myself, but also in clinic. And I continually am blown away by the effects and the results of this. And what I think one of the things I want to say, like, I love the effectiveness of it, but one of the things I love the most is that it's something that people can do at home anytime. And it's so simple and it's so gentle. I think in our day and age, sometimes we think that things have to be really strong or we have to go hard on things or very extreme. And this is something that is just such a simple, gentle practice. A lot of the protocols take, 1 to 3 minutes, up to 10 minutes if you're doing a few oils. And it's like a very gentle nudge for your body to help it remember. And it's when we combine it with the acupuncture points, which have their own energies, their own uses, combined with essential oils, which are distilled plant energy and medicine, which each one has its own energy and medicine. When we match them up, it's like the body remembers. And it works not only on the physical side of things, but it also works on the energetic side. It works on the emotional side, the spiritual side, all together. So it's just on something so gentle. So I'm really happy you're here. And hopefully this is something that you can utilize and use in your home quite easily. And I'm breaking it down into, we did one a couple of weeks ago on resilience, and this one is more on stress and different approaches to stress. If you have any questions at any point now or after, always reach out and let me know, because I'm so happy to pass along what I know. And what I'll do at the end is just leave a little bit of time for questions. I'll just try to keep an eye on that as well. So with having said all that, I'm just going to share a screen with you here, and we can jump in. Here we go. Bear with me. This feels like my computer feels a bit messy today. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, and let me just set this up. Wow, this is not my most seamless start to something, so thank you. There we go. Okay, can people see that? Just a thumbs up if you can see the screen. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Wonderful. So essential oils and stress. So the ones that we're going to be talking about today are bergamot, marjoram, blue tansy, and jasmine. And I'll just do an honorable mention to jasmine, or to geranium at the end. So just for those of you who haven't been on a talk with me before around this, we use essential oils. So they each have their own unique properties, but oils have different scents or actions in them. So the type of scent, like a woody scent, like a tree scent, has this particular action on the body. So they bring the energy in and down. If you think of like what tree roots go deep into the earth. They have a very strong, steady trunk. So we a lot of times use those type of energies to bring the energy in and down. So this would be really great, like helpful for someone who is very scattered or has a lot of anxiety, or they're quite up in their head. So the woody will bring it down. Pungent fragrances tend to move things up and out of the body. So for stuck energy, or when we're really feeling down or low or blocked, or we're lethargic, pungent can move things up and out and really disperse that energy. So bringing a brightness to us. So a lot of things like that would be like, we're going to talk about bergamot, but some of the citrus oils, they tend to have that pungent upward moving. And then sweet tends to circulate and move and harmonize in the body. So this is really nice when we need to take the edges off of something, when it feels a little bit, we feel a bit resistant. And so that's where we use a different one. So I think last time we talked about these top tones. I won't go the different tones, so the bass tone, the middle tone, and all that. If anyone's interested, I can share that with them. So the actual technique is very, very simple, but I'll just go over it really quickly now so you get a sense of that. So the acupuncture oil combo, 1 drop of oil, and usually you dilute your oils. You don't need to do it full strength at all. So diluting it in something like fractionated coconut oil, jojoba oil, almond oil, something like that, that's light. And you're going to mix it, usually depending on the oil, I'll talk a little bit about that, but let's say a 25 to 50% dilution for most oils. You're going to put a little drop on one of your fingers, split it between 2, and then you literally hold it. No pressure needed at all. This is what's so amazing. It's so gentle. No pressure needed, just holding it on the point. And you'll hold it upwards, from 1 to 3 minutes. Usually people will feel a shift. You can feel a shift in as little as 1 minute, but you can go as long as you want if you're sort of in the state of feeling really good. I like to combine it with some breath work. It can be really helpful. But yeah, so just holding on the point very, very gently. If you see an indent, you're going too hard, and just holding it over that point. And then just receiving it. So often people, this is what I notice in clinic a lot, I'll hold it for maybe a minute, and then after a minute and a half, they do a big just a big release. Or sometimes there can be a little bit, depending on the oil combo, you can feel a bit of an unwinding in your body. Some people break into tears. There's a big release of that immediately. Sometimes there's a feeling of pressure or movement, or what happens a lot too is there's like a gurgling in the stomach as things kind of come back online. So lots of physical things. Some people see colors. Some people just feel, there's one oil I use in particular, and I have a couple chatty clients, and they'll be like, da, da, la, 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 and they'll put the oil and they go, la, la, and then they just stop. And they're like, what just happened? And it just brings that energy out of the head, boom, and just more regulating as opposed to stopping it in that way. So that's the very, very simple technique. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'll check back at the chat after, but for right now, I'll just go through. So the points and oil combinations that we're going to do today, the first one we're going to look at is bergamot. So bergamot is this idea of the great reset. It is, I'm going to try to, I'm not going to stop the share, but I just want to grab some notes here. So let me just see if I can, oops, no, that didn't work. So bergamot, I will try to go backwards. Who's really not techie today? I apologize everyone for this. Let me go, there we go. So bergamot is called, we think of it as a great reset. So it is balancing the right and left hemispheres of the brain. It balances the nervous system, so sympathetic and parasympathetic. It balances sort of reactionary patterns of stress or coping that we have in the body, and it unwinds the fascia in the body. So we'll just kind of go into each of these a little bit more. So right and left hemispheres of the brain, we have our more analytical thinking brain, practical, the thing that can do numbers and words and logical sort of linear thinking. That would be more our left brain. And then our right brain would be more that emotional center, or more like creative thinking, non-linear, that side, sort of very, I'm generalizing grossly here, but just in that sense. So sometimes we get stuck a little bit more in one. I would say our left brain gets a lot of action, information and knowing and doing and thinking. But sometimes people can have the right brain a lot more active. And so when we use bergamot, it balances them completely. So they've actually shown this in mapping the brain with they show the areas that are heightened, like have more reactivity, and then they've used bergamot, and within minutes, they can see the two sides of the brain have balanced out. So it can react really, really quickly. Then we have the autonomic nervous system, or the central nervous system. We have the sympathetic and parasympathetic, what we're going to talk about today. And that's, the sympathetic is our fight or flight. This is our stress response. This is healthy. It's good that we have this, and it gives us quick reactions to things. We're about to cross the street and a car whizzes by, we are able to jump back, or if you've been driving and someone almost swerves into you, you are immediately flooded with energy, and it gives you really quick reactions. So we want this, and there are times when we definitely, it's to our advantage. Some of the challenges today is that we get stuck here. We get stuck in this fight or flight response. And so the way that the body's set up is that when the sympathetic nervous system is engaged, it's prioritizing certain parts of our body or our reactions. So it's prioritizing our muscles, our heart, our lungs, our pupils dilate, so that all our senses are more heightened. But what happens is our digestive system gets shut down, our reproductive system gets shut down, because it's just like, I don't need to do that right now. I'm in survival mode. So if we are not able to move out of that sympathetic response, then our cells don't heal. Really, we can only be surviving or thriving. We can't do both at the same time. So we're in that survival mode. We're not detoxing the same way. Our cells aren't regenerating the same way. We can't do all that reparative stuff. And so if the bergamot will help to reset and bring that parasympathetic system back on board. And also, not that being in parasympathetic all the time is a good thing. Our body responds to stress in different ways. So fight, flight, freeze, and appease. So it's a lot of times a freeze can be more of a depressive state, and we can't get out of bed. It's more catatonic. We don't have that energy that we need to get going. So like cortisol and the adrenaline, some of the energies that are part of the sympathetic system. So if someone's flatlining, like on the side, they don't have that energy, bergamot will bring a bit of lift to it. So this would be one of those pungent ones that brings the energy up and out. So that can be helpful if we're feeling really, really low too. So the thing is, it's not going to, if you have caffeine and the caffeine will gives you energy, and you can't really balance it out because it's in your system. It's a drug of sorts, it's a food drug, but it is one that brings that energy, and you can't get rid of that. This isn't like that. It's going to balance where you are. Too much of one, bring you to here. Not enough of another, bring you back to that middle. So it's a really balancing one. And then this also helps to these reactionary patterns reactionary patterns of stress and coping in the body. So we all have patterns, ways that we've survived for whatever reason, whether some people have had incredibly traumatic histories in their lives where it has not been safe at home. They've been from some country where it's been war torn, or there's just been abuse or danger of some sort that can have a heightened response in their body. So one example would be PTSD of war veterans. When they hear a car backfiring, their nervous system is like hyper responsive to that. But then there are little ones that we have that are maybe ways that we survived in our family or in a schoolyard or something like that. And those get lodged into our unconscious mind. And those are ones that we naturally go to in a stress response. So it could be if people are fighting in a house or something, and you've been someone in your family that appeases a situation, you'll naturally go into that appeaser, or you'll go into fight, right? So something can happen and we go into fight mode. And so these are more habitual and old reactionary patterns that really they've tried to keep us safe, but they're not serving us so well now. So what bergamot can do, and with the combination that I'll show you, is it will send us back into this relaxed state and more of okay, it's okay if other people are fighting, I don't have to fix it. Or, I can actually say what I need to say without getting angry or something like that. So it helps to balance out those patterns. So it can be a really nice thing if you're able to catch it in the moment, or I've noticed this with my partner, if I'm like, whoop, I'm feeling a little triggered, and then I can go to the other room, just take a moment, take some breaths, do bergamot, and I come back and there's some perspective. It's just like I reset a little bit. And the other thing it does is it unwinds the fascia in the body. So the fascia is connective tissue that covers everything in the body, our organs, our bones, and all that. And it kind of, there's a space between the fascia, so they should glide over each other pretty easily. When fascia gets kind of tight, that's when we get stiffness. When you stretch and it's like, oh my gosh. And then what happens is when we stretch enough, it's like, the movement comes back. So we often have ways that we either patterns in our body that we routinely do. So this could be, you know, I'm sitting at the computer over time, same position with my mouse, and that gets it to be a repetitive pattern. Or it's like when we're in a stressful situation, or we sort of tuck our tail, we kind of collapse through our middle, whatever that is, and these will cause these sort of fascial patterns in the body. So what can happen, and this, people have felt this as well, when they put the bergamot, they can feel their body kind of unwinding. And I know my teacher was saying she, for years would do bergamot every day on this point that I'm going to show you. And she could feel the same pattern of unwinding in her body. And then after 2 years, it kind of let go, and her structure was starting to change as we let go of those holding patterns. So it can be really powerful for all those different things. So like getting our body back, and our mind, our psyche back to that neutral. So then when we go on to combine it with this pressure point called Shen Men. So this is a point in the ear. It's a really great calming, relaxing, and balancing point in addition to the oil. So we've combined the two really balancing points together and applying it. So again, this one, you might use your baby fingers because it's easier to get into this little spot, triangular fossa on the ear. And you just put an oil, dab it onto, gently hold it. You can close your eyes, just take a couple of breaths, and it smells beautiful. So, you know, you just hold it there for a couple of minutes. After you're done, it's really nice to rub your hands together. And another way you can use the oil is this cupped hand inhalation. So just rubbing your hands together, taking a big breath in, a couple of those, and that brings the energy in as well. There's a couple of ways you can use the oils. We're obviously linking the Acupoints with the oils, but you can always smell them, and smell is one of our key senses for that fight or flight. We use that for survival, and so we can also use it. It's a great way we can sort of get access to stuff right away. So that's the bergamot Shen Men combo. The next oil we're going to talk about is marjoram. So marjoram is called the great pacifier. It relaxes the heart and the mind. It resolves resistance, and it kind of recalibrates our boundaries around things. So marjoram, this has a lot to do with our boundaries. So when you think about, it's almost like hard edges. When there's resistance on two sides, you think they kind of butt up against each other, this can cause a lot of conflict. And so when we're resisting something, we resist what is. When we're resisting someone else, if we come in, kind of think about relationships, if I come in like, you know, ready for a fight, and I'm upset about something, and I come in angry, I'm usually met with kind of a resistance, and we don't get very far very fast. So what this does is this creates a healthy boundary. It allows us to sort of soften a bit and create some space around it, but it helps us find our healthy boundary. So there's a saying someone told me years ago, that you can't trust your yes until you trust your no. And what that is sometimes our boundaries, we either feel like we have to fight for them because underneath there, we feel like we're not going to get our needs met, or we don't deserve them, or someone, whatever the story is. But sometimes we feel really strongly about something. And by the way, this doesn't mean denying something. It doesn't mean not knowing if there's a wrong or a right, or some injustice that needs to be taken care of, but it just relaxes some of the resistance around it. And from there, with that gentle, there's a firmness to marjoram. And if you smell it, it's kind of got a bit of an edge to it, but it's in a healthy edge. So it just creates that boundary. When we can trust ourselves and our boundary, we're able to interact in the world in a different way. So, and that also, helps to bridge a little bit to that mind and body. We'll talk a little about this and one of the other ones as well. This idea of, I think there's schisms is sort of one more way it's described, but this unnatural divide between two parts of the body. So if we have a culture that really does value most or prioritizes head, neck up, how we think, what's the plan, the logical, the science, which is valuable, but it's not more valuable than the body's memories, the knowing, the any thing that happens in life gets stored and processed through the body. So when we have this divide that we're operating from here and trying to think our way through something versus also integrating and feeling it, that's when we have this this boundary is unhealthy. So then we can help bring together those boundaries. So it's really great at connecting parts of the body, and it really just sort of pacifies things in a healthy way. So not about denying. This isn't about, we'll talk a little bit about geranium, or we're doing jasmine, which is more of that loving energy and that softer. This is more about, hey, wait a second, I actually have this, what I think matters, or I actually have a right to think this, or to have a say in this, or whatever it is. So it is a boundary, but it's not one we're pushing on people, and we're not having them overstepped either by ourselves or by someone else. So this one we're combining with a point called gallbladder 34, which this is on the side of the leg. Just there's a bone just underneath your knee on the outside, and it's just at the head of that. Just on you'll feel the point, gallbladder 34, and this benefits all the connective tissues. It relieves stagnation in the body. It's we say it's the command point for tendons in the body. And if you notice, anytime you get, I know for me, but most people I see in clinic too, when we get angry or stressed, we tighten up. And so this gallbladder channel goes all the way up the sides of the body, the legs, and then it wraps around through this point of the shoulders, up through the back of the neck and around to the head. So a lot of times when we get like occipital headaches, tightness in the shoulders, this is the gallbladder channel. So when you putting marjoram on gallbladder 34 really helps to relax that whole channel. And the other point that you can also do is the point on the top of the shoulders. Gallbladder 21 is a nice one to do as well. We'll have a picture of that, I think, later. But so this helps to relax the tension, helps to soften enough so that we're not rigid, and then relax the body. All right, so the next one is blue tansy. Oh, this is like my new favorite, actually. I use this a lot in clinic, and it actually is, couldn't find a proper picture of it, but it is bright blue, and it will stain the skin a little bit. This one you cut down to about 10 to 15% because it's still effective then, and it just isn't so staining. It smells quite, it's like brightening, and then the smell, and it's a very calming and relaxing, balances and stabilizes through our moods, and it brings flow back, or this stuck energy. It brings it this state of well, we'll talk a little bit about anger actually. So this directly affects the liver system in traditional Chinese medicine. And the liver system has a lot to do. It's actually most active at this time of year. Kavita, who's doing our talk tomorrow, is going to get in a little bit more to the liver system and why it's most active now. But it has a lot to do with healthy boundaries. It has the emotions around it are anger or frustration. Which isn't bad. Just like our sympathetic nervous system isn't bad, anger is not bad at all. It, like, I'll give you an example. Like have something happens and we're like, oh gosh, that really makes me angry. That's unfair, or I really want this thing that I'm doing. We shift and move, or we take action on something to balance, to change something. So a good example would be Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, right? That's an infuriating, devastating thing to have a child killed by a drunk driver. So they took that rage and that outrage and that anger, and then they started Mothers Against Drunk Drivers to stop this. So they took positive action out of something that was upsetting and angry and absolutely devastating. So if you think about nature, the element associated with the liver system is it's started up in the spring, and it's wood. And so if you think of a tree, what happens, or a seed in the ground. So it's planted under earth, and in order to bring life, it has to have some oomph. Like it has to push through the earth to get up, to grow, to be able to push through, to make life, or to create life. And if you've ever seen, my favorite example of healthy determination or anger would be like walking down the street on concrete and you see this amazing little flower that's come up in between cracks in the concrete, right? It didn't meet the concrete and go, oh, I'm not supposed to grow. I shouldn't do this. No. And it's like, oh, I'm so mad at this concrete. I can't believe it. I'm going to stay here and just be mad at it. No, it doesn't. It goes, oh, I'll go this way. Oh, look, I'll go this way. And it just goes with it, the flow, and helps and then grows. And so that's that idea of eventually when trees grow in a healthy tree, we watch them. The wind blows and what do? They sway, they move with it. So this is the energy of blue tansy. It helps us move with the flow. It calms, it relaxes. It's like, okay, I got this. And it just helps us to go with it. There was heard of a gentleman, I think he was running the Olympic Committee, if I remember correctly. And there were all kinds of obstacles and things that they had come up. But instead of going, oh my gosh, that's terrible, every time what he would do is just be like, okay, excellent. Now what? Next step, not get stuck in it, just like it's taking us somewhere. So life is taking us somewhere. How can we follow? And the beautiful thing with blue tansy is it does it through this element of play. And I've actually, it's hilarious. I've had this in clinic where I put it on the point that liver 3 is the point we're going to do it on. I'll explain in a minute, but I put it on a client and immediately she started to giggle. She's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And she started to feel this kind of energy come up. And the embodiment of this would be the court jester. And if you think of the court jester, the court jester would tell the truth in a funny way. And it was said that the court jester was the only one who could tell the truth to the king because it was in a palatable way. So blue tansy allows this playfulness. And I've had this with a couple of times. I've been in an argument with my partner and we kind of look at each other and we just start to laugh because it's just like, oh, what are we doing? And so it brings that playfulness back. And then from there, we can take action and there we can create a little space around it. So that's the blue tansy energy. And we're combining it with liver 3, which is on the top of the foot in between the tendons. If you sort of move from the web of your foot backwards towards your ankle, you'll feel sometimes a little like divot in, and that's the place. And this naturally relieves tension and stagnation and balances the liver system with a little bit of nourishment too. So it's a really beautiful point as well. So you just put some on there, just hold it for a couple of minutes. And anytime you're feeling stuck or resistance in life, or you're coming up against an obstacle, this is a really nice one to use. And then the next one is our last one for today, sort of. I'll talk about another one, but is jasmine. So stress affects people in different ways. So some people get very angry, some people shut down, some people feel alone, they feel depressive. So we're all different. So bergamot was a reset. Marjoram was about creating some boundaries about things. Blue tansy was about creating that flow. And now jasmine is the restorer of trust. So this goes right to our heart. So it softens the walls around our heart. It's really great for trauma or for shock. And it just brings internal peace. So right now there's so much on everyone's plates. A lot of our resources have been, ways that we would naturally take care of ourselves. We don't have that. I think I liken it to people, having bank accounts fairly full on maybe friend time or having been away or vacation or being able to be out and nourished through cultural activities and things. And after, a year plus, those accounts are kind of in overdraft for a lot of people. Or the news is so fearful that we start to what can we trust? What's out there? Being afraid a lot. For some people, they're sort of stuck in that place. Sometimes there's a lot of conflict or there's just a lot of change that's happening in the world, a lot of good change, but it's really quite upsetting in some ways too, the process as we get there. So this can bring up feelings of trust, of safety, and that. So jasmine is such a beautiful one to bring back that trust. It's a one I'm doing a lot more work on and learning a lot more about intergenerational trauma and ancestral trauma. And jasmine is one of the key ones to be used for that. So the point that's really wonderful to combine it with is pericardium 7. So this is, the pericardium is that muscle that protects the heart. So it's like a side door into the heart. So it's not too aggressive, but it's kind of like, it's a gentle sort of side way in. So this is on the wrist of the hand, it's on the wrist, right at the level sort of the wrist crease. And in the center there are two tendons. And this point lies, pericardium 7, called the great mound. It lies between the two tendons there. And this is actually a trust point in the body. So this helps to calm and to trust as well. So when you combine a trust oil with a trust point, it sort of makes it extra strong. So this one for application, what you can do is just take an oil and then you just put a few drops on, or a drop on that one point, and then you just put your other wrist against it and you can just hold it there for a couple minutes. So this is really nice to just breathe and take, 5 minutes and just receive energy. So the other point, did I put it on here? Yes, the other point jasmine can be really helpful for, and you can also use blue tansy on this one, or bergamot is really, really nice on this as well, is CV17. So this is called the primordial child. So this point right in the center. So if you go down the sternum, sort of at the level, just a little bit above the level of the nipples for men, and depending on your breasts for women, but if you go down the sternum, you'll feel a little bit of an indent there. And so very, very gently taking the oil and placing it on there. This point and this oil is really, really helpful for trauma. So anyone who has any trauma from their past or feeling themselves triggered currently, this point is super fantastic for that. And you just hold it. So the other bonus one I wanted to do too, if jasmine, at first I really didn't love the smell of jasmine. It felt a bit thick and kind of cloying for me. I like it a lot more now, but the one that's another one that can sort of, it's like a complement, or it's another soft oil that helps, is geranium. So I mentioned that before with like the marjoram has got those boundaries. It's got a bit of an edge to it to kind of create that. Geranium is this very sweet oil, and it's sort of gentle. It's often, I sort of call it nature's hug, right? Like it just feels very, like it sort of embodies that, the ultimate mother energy, very nurturing. It has been shown to balance blood sugars. I talked about this in the last one, where in the body. So it balanced blood sugars. I've used it on a few diabetic patients, and they've actually found their numbers to have dropped in a really short time. Same with gout. I use it for someone with gout because of the sugar component of that. It also helps to balance hormones as well. But it is one you can also use on the wrist crease as well. You could use it in the heart, the CV17 on the center of the chest as well. But it's a really nice one. So if you feel stress and more kind of rigidity or more boundaries is not what you need. What you need is softening. Go to geranium, and that's another great one. And I think that's, just quickly with some safety precautions, you really want to use diluted oils. There are some, none of these are skin irritants, although marjoram has got a bit of a sort of, you want to dilute them all. Listen to your body too. Bergamot is a photosynthesizing one, so you're going to be more susceptible to burns and things like that. So you want to dilute that, or protect the areas that you use it on. When it's diluted properly, there shouldn't be any problems with that at all. And I think that's pretty much it for those. So I'm just going to stop the share now and just see if there are any questions at all. Let's see. Can these oils be used on children and babies? Yes. So there's a whole, yes, they can be. You need to dilute them even more. And there are some you want to be, take precautions. So if you want to reach out to me, I can give you a little bit more information on that, because I won't go into it now with our time. But yeah, so that's something, pets and babies, you can use them, but there are some precautions with that. And with these, how often can you do that? You can do them every day. Like I really like doing a protocol, like the bergamot, you could just do every day, and you can do it just as a ritual, sort of as a morning. I like a morning practice with it, with breathing. You can, you know, as I mentioned, if you're feeling tense or something like that, it's, you can do it for, you know, calming down. I like it between transitions between things. So if people have back-to-back meetings, or if I had in between patients, just do a little bit of a reset, a little bit of a reset. So you can use all of them every day. Absolutely. You can, it's kind of neat to try a protocol for a week to two and see how you feel. So if you're, you know, if you're feeling like, oh, I'm really drawn to the bergamot and the geranium, just do that every day and see how you feel. And then you'll be able to pull from them as you need them. And I'm just reading some of the questions. Would you do each of these daily? Yeah, like I have a protocol. I switch mine up, but I do use it with the oils daily. Absolutely. And some, like bergamot, I'll use a couple of times throughout the day, depending if I'm noticing I'm kind of running a little bit high and got a lot going on. I'll do that throughout the day. And yeah, so I absolutely, and I think to see the benefits, to be honest, it would be something that you would use every day. So the long-term effects, and certainly the stuff I'm learning and experiencing around trauma, we want to consistently, it's not going to, it's kind of, I liken it to when we change our diet, right? Changing our diet, if we just eat an apple and some, you know, green soup and something like that for a day, well, yeah, that might feel good, but you know, that's not where our cells change, right? That takes time. And so when we consistently do this, it's profound and gentle. So just consistently showing up and doing it, listening. And what happens, I found a little bit with this, is that like as things start to change, it's in hindsight, we go like, hey, I didn't react as strongly as I might have in the past. Oh, isn't that interesting? And so we start to notice just a little bit differently how that goes. So yeah, I would highly encourage you to do it, to practice daily. Let's see. How long do they last? They last quite a while. You want to, often oils, they come in like either, you can't really see, that one's got a label. That one's got a label. Where is it? This is a darker bottle. So because they are light sensitive, you want to keep them so that they're away from light and heat. That will make them go off faster. And yeah, and you want to keep them in glass versus plastics. They'll break down, so that's not so healthy. So they'll last quite a while. And for good brands, I get from a few different places. I actually like doTERRA's brands. Like they're pretty transparent on where they get the oils and how they source them, and they're high quality. So you really want high quality oils when you're doing this. A lot of times when things that are precious or in demand, like rose, often they are manipulated a little bit, or especially if they're used for in the beauty industry or things like that. So you really want a pure source. So doTERRA is one that I use quite a bit and really like them. Monera, Monara, is a beautiful one as well. Living Libations is a Canadian brand, also got some nice oils. So they're all really good. And for those of you that know me, I'm stocking a lot in the clinic now. They're kind of flying through, but they're, I'm finding it's just, it's nice to have them there for people who can go home with them when they experience it. So let's see. So those are the brands that I like. Yeah, okay, answered that. Is there a time of day that is better? You know, find your time. There is not necessarily a time of day that's better. I start my day with it, but then I actually end my day with it too. And then I do it in between. So I think if you're going to practice daily, make it, you know, and it's nice to stack on a ritual you might already have. So, like if you have a meditation practice in the morning, that's what I've done. I've just incorporated, I hold an oil and do my breath, you know, work, and I do another oil and I breathe. So that's easy for me to do. You know, see if there's something that you could stack it on or transition. Okay, marking that transition from work to off time or whatever. But really there's no, I think the best thing is consistency. So there's no absolute for that. It's your time. Let's see. And I would say though, just on that, if you notice that at the end of your day, you have a hard time coming down or falling asleep or something like that, it might be a really nice thing to use one of those balancing oils, to mark the time for bed as part of your sleep hygiene. And I've also had some people that, wake up in the night, if you're somebody who's like, ooh, and they wake up, or you wake up and your mind's like, la, 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 la. That would be nice to have bergamot or something beside the bed. Just put it on, breathe, reset, and that might help to go to sleep in that way, and that balancing. So know thyself, and just listen to that one. And, again, this beautiful space of curiosity, like what feels good to you? Where does it feel like, just like, oh, I did it in the morning. That felt good to start my day, but I really liked it in the afternoon when I was starting to get a slump of energy or something like that. Let's see. Does marjoram get rubbed into the bone? No, nothing gets rubbed in. So literally it's that placing for this particular technique is just like oil, like the diluted oil, say this is my leg, and you're just holding it. You don't have to do any work. It's amazing, right? We can relax our body through the fascia through just laying an oil that works on a point that relaxes the fascia. Wow, isn't that a lot less work for us? Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice when it's simple and that we trust? I think we've gone, like, I see that so much, and I certainly have done that in my practice. I used to I'm gonna give you everything I know, and people are like, oh my God. And now it's like, here, try this oil for a week, and people are like, I feel better. Simple, and it's in your back pocket, right? To that point though, with the oils, there are other ways you can use them. And you can, like with the blue tansy, if you're someone who holds a lot of tension in your stomach, digestion gets affected, that you can put some blue tansy, maybe 6 to 8 drops, and with a fair bit of carrier oil, and you could use castor oil because it really moves things, or you could use just the fractionated coconut, and then do a self massage and a belly rub of that. And that will also be nice too. That's not the technique we're talking about today, but you can do oils in that way too. You can have a bath with the oils as well. So you can put a couple of drops in the bath and just be immersed in it. And that can be another way to get it in. And I mentioned the cupped hand inhalation. So a couple drops, breathing. You can put a couple of drops under your nose, so you're getting that in the day. So lots of ways you can use it. You can diffuse it in your room too. So if you're really drawn to an oil and really love it, play around with it too in that way. But today, this is just a very simple, acu combo. Grapeseed. Yeah, I think grapeseed can be, what you want is a vegetable oil. You want it pure. You don't want it really to have a smell to it at all. And it's got to be, viscous enough, or like that it's not too thick. So like obviously, like coconut oil is solid at room temperature, and if it's not too hot out, that's not going to work. But the fractionated coconut oil is easy. So in a pinch you can use what you have, but so finding one that you like as well. And there are certain oils. Hazelnut oil is really, really nice for dryness. So that's kind of one if someone's really dry, or not. Essential oils have a naturally drying component to them, believe it or not, unless they're high in lipids. So, if you've really got dry skin, you might want to combine it with an oil that's got a more nourishing, moistening side. Let's see what else. And dilution, usually we talk just dilution, blue tansies, 10 to 15%, bergamot, you can use 25 to 50%, marjoram, 25, 30%, and jasmine, it's a very rare, expensive oil. So you would do dilution for that about 10%. So a lot of times they sell like jasmine or rose, or those kind of oils, they sell a lot of times, like doTERRA has a roller ball that's already pre-diluted. I think so does Monera, they have a pre-diluted one. So you can just get it and then go and put the roller on, just roll a little bit and put it on as well. Yeah, any other questions or anything? Sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope you use them. Honestly, it's been life-changing for me, and I definitely see the benefits in my practice. And for this time when we can just use such a gentle form of healing that will help calm us and help us, be more resourced. I think it's such a gift. So we need all of you. We need all of you in your full self. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. And if you have any questions outside of here, please feel free to contact me. And I hope you come back for the other talks. So we have another 3 talks coming up as well. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.